Hi, everyone. This is Peter Hernandez. This is The Core Truth. And today I've got Tom Ferry, great friend, my coach, my mentor, my buddy. I haven't golfed with him yet, but one of these days we'll actually golf together too.
I'm ready. I'm ready, my friend. So good to be with you today. So thanks for having me on the show.
No, it's absolutely wonderful, Tom. It's great to have you. And I mean it. We got to go play golf for sure. God, we have so much to talk about, and I've got so many questions and so many thoughts. We're going to dig into business growth and strategy as a first topic. But before I even go there, I guess my first statement, and I would love your thought on this, is agents right now, in fact, human beings right now, I think need coaching more than ever.
Is that the statement?
That is the statement. And I guess from your point of view, why do I feel that way in your mind? Why do I think right now more than ever in life, in real estate, in business, we need coaches?
You know, it's interesting. You and I have been around long enough and friends long enough to remember that when you said, hey, I have a real estate coach, people were like, it didn't even make sense, right? Like people were like, blowing a whistle, drop and give me 20, go run track, like that kind of coach. Today, it feels like the coaching industry has become so big in our space, somewhere between $1 billion to $2 billion in revenue on all things training and coaching and everything else. I think it's because of the market, Peter. I mean, you've been through a lot. I've been through a lot. I think when you look broadly at the industry right now, just in the US, call it like the last time I saw was about 1.45 million agents. But if you actually dig into the data, and I've only done the list side data for the first 6 months of the year, what we see is 1,065,000 real estate professionals have 0 listings sold and closed in the first 6 months. I just want to get the accurate number, 345,000 and change. Some of them fell backwards from this time last year, and that group did about 40%, but they averaged only 2.2 listings sold and closed in the first 6 months. Now, you and I both know someone that does that probably had 8 or 9 or 10 buyer sales. So I'm not saying that person's bad in any way, shape, or form. My goodness, especially if they're in coastal California or New York City, or Miami, they're doing great. But what we're seeing is a significant consolidation of the list side transaction. So the last numbers, it's 90,046 to be exact. Agents in the US controlled 60% of the listings sold business in the US in the first 6 months of the year. So you say people need coaching, and I would argue there's no doubt that having somebody in your corner, having a guide, a mentor, a friend, a confidant, someone to remind you, hey, make your phone calls, right? Like, hey, follow up on that lead. Sales cycles are longer. We're going to get through this. Same reason I have a coach, right? Is, we get into our head, right? And we need someone to kind of get us out of our head and get us back in action. But I think the stark reality of just the 4 million plus residential transactions we'll do, not including all the new construction, and the massive consolidation of agents that are doing more and a whole bunch of people are doing nothing. You could certainly make that argument that, the best people, they need it. The people that are maybe stuck in the middle, they need it. And my goodness, if not something, what does that group need that is sitting at 0? And by the way, I don't want to be quoted on this, but the early number on the buy side is exactly the same. 1 million agents haven't closed a transaction in the first 6 months of the year, buy side or sell side.
So who's doing all the transactions when you look at that landscape?
It's interesting. So I'm doing a lot of research on this, getting ready for the summit. So me, I'm in full preparation mode. It looks like basically 3 tranches of agents seem to be, when I talk consolidation, right? So it's clearly the arbitrageurs, they've got the Open Door account, they've got the Zillow account, they've got the Realtor.com account, they're, Fast Expert, every possible way to generate those leads and to control the digital footprint of their marketplace. So that group. Then I would say a combination of what I call the prospecting marketers, right? Not just prospectors and not just marketers, but they're the ones that are, I'm doing the direct mail and I'm getting phone calls and I'm following up and I'm, aggressively networking. Like they're out there understanding that this market belongs to the people that market. Like you can't be passive in an environment like this. So that's the second group. And then of course, the people that have done a wonderful job, you of all people know, right? reputation, right? The name Peter Hernandez means something. And there's so many people in your community and mine that they've done such a great job managing their reputation, making a difference to their clients, staying relevant, making sure that, their bios are up to date and that they're out and about and that they're, maybe emailing or doing drop-bys or whatever they're doing for their past clients and sphere. But I just, I'm going to have, I'll send it to you. I'll have in a couple of weeks. I asked my friends at F&F, right? The biggest title conglomerate, nice guys to know, because you can say to them, hey, could you on the next 490,000 closings ask these 3 questions? And the number one question I'm asking is, how did you select your real estate agent? How did you select your agent? Because I'm sure you saw the same data that I saw, which was, call it 2,000 person sample size of recent buyers and sellers. The numbers have flipped. I mean, in my 3.5 decades, forever it was, Peter was my friend, so I listed my home with him, or Peter's brother is an agent, or, the guy or gal that drops off the little notepads, for the last 10 years, that's my agent. But what we're seeing now is, in the day and age where, at least on the sell side, 42%, 43% of sellers are going online, doing research, looking at reviews, checking out people's track record, looking to see how much they're doing in their area. And the fascinating thing is now you're seeing, a small percentage, but it's a growing trend, which is they're literally finding agents, by doing a search query on Grok, on ChatGPT, on Claude, on Gemini. And that's where I think it gets really interesting. So that's how we view it. And again, I'll have more accurate data around this numbers and percentages by the time I see you in August. But it's a very different world right now. The world is shifting, not just, geopolitical and all that stuff, but our world, this feels like a shift, no different from, and thank God not the same, as the REO short sale accounts of 2008 and 9.
Yeah.
Right. Massive consolidation of listings around a few people. And in this case, with 1.4 million, 1.5 million agents, and 90,000 of them are controlling 60% of the market. And Peter, I have to say, for the person listening, if you and I were business partners, we don't put both listings under both of our MLS IDs, right? So maybe there's 80 or 90,000 people, that did transactions, but it was under somebody else's MLS ID, a team, a partner, a husband and wife, whatever it may be. But we're still talking about, 900,000 people that haven't done a transaction this year. That's scary.
But there's one group of agents that you didn't touch on, and that's and it's very rare. Now I'm going to the very tip of the pyramid, and that is those agents that don't market, don't advertise. You don't even know what they look like, but they sell $500 million in real estate in the first quarter. What is the secret to their success?
Reputation. It's reputation. It's always been reputation. I did this study last year, and I'm looking to fresh it up, and it was essentially like, why do all businesses succeed? And brand reputation is always at the top of the list. Do you know what I mean? Okay, which car do I want to buy? You immediately go to whichever your favorite brand is, right? I want a Tesla, a Mercedes, I want a Toyota, whatever it may be. And so I won't name names, but we know many of them, certainly in LA, we see them in New York, we see them in Miami, we see them a lot of the high-end marketplaces. They've just become so well known that their product, their listings, that's their brand. That's their reputation. Timmy Smith, who longtime client, friend of mine in Newport Beach, when in 2010, when I said to him, look, I've been on YouTube since 2007. This is clearly catching fire. If you can do some more provocative listing videos, you will start to get phone calls of people calling and saying, and now, the guy will go on 250 some odd listing appointments this year. And, he does marketing, he does advertising, he does all the stuff. But people literally say to him, all right, thanks so much for coming. So what video are you going to do on my house? Yeah. That's his reputation. Yeah.
Studying agents' habits is a really good thing to do.
Yes.
There's 3 things I noticed they'll pay for. One is leads. They'll join Zillow, they'll join all these things, and they'll pay for leads. And we both know they can meet these same people at an open house or at Starbucks or anywhere, but they'll buy leads.
Yep.
That's one thing they'll buy, right?
Yeah.
Here's the second thing all agents will pay for is marketing.
Yes.
And most agents go outside their companies. They don't use company marketing. They go outside the company. They buy their own marketing. They spend all kinds of money to build their brands, to build their, campaigns, whatever.
Yeah.
And then the third thing, and you've built an empire on this, Tom, and congratulations, you're amazing. You're a total baller. They'll pay for coaching.
Yes. Yes.
So what do we learn from that? They pay for leads, they pay for coaching, they pay for marketing. Everything else they've got alligator arms.
Yeah. I think I would take agents out of the equation. And what I would say is successful small businesses. Successful small businesses, every business sub $10 million in revenue. So in our case, it'd be GCI, right? If you're going to be successful in small business, I've started tens of companies that it's very clear. You got to have a great brand, a great reputation. You've got to market your face off, right? You have to spend money on Google. You got to spend money on Facebook. You have to acquire the customers, right? Work your funnel, all that stuff. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, I don't think it's just real estate. That's my point.
Yeah.
Every SaaS company I know, every finance company I know, every new technology company I work with, it's always the same thing. So I don't think it's a good or bad thing. I know on the marketing side, what they're looking for is differentiation. And this has become, again, you go back to this sort of consolidation at the top. I can have differentiation if I have Realtor.com's Market VIP package and I have all of the Realtor.com leads in my area all coming to me, right? I can have differentiation if I have Flex. Now you don't have the reputation part of it. You just have the lead flow, right? But that's still differentiation versus, I'm gonna list with Peter because, the way Peter presents himself. And that's the hard part of this business. It's, a lot of agents say to me, I just feel lost. And I'm like, yeah, you're lost in a sea of sameness, right? I mean, if everybody's handsome and good looking and smart and number one, why would I listen to you versus somebody else if everybody's kind of the same? You with me?
Right. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. You're right. All right. So let's shift. That was really interesting. You've coached thousands of agents, more than thousands. I mean, maybe you're up to 1 million by now. And
not that many, I promise. That would be a lot.
I want to look at two things right off the top. Like,
sure.
Let's just start with this one because I think it's important. What is the common traits of those agents that are really crushing it right now? Give me your top 3.
Oh yeah. Ambition. And I would say ambition and optimism, like those two go together. They just know that more is available. And I think the really smart entrepreneur knows, if you look back over this, like the history of business, not just real estate, that in markets like this is where you pick up market share. This is the time where you are riskier. This is where the time where you do invest more in your brand, in your marketing, because most people pull back environments like this. So I think ambition is a really big one. The interesting part, and this is probably the not so popular opinion, but I'll say it anyway. They are extremely dissatisfied. They are dissatisfied with themselves. They're dissatisfied with their business, satisfied with, how they operate. And I mean, I think of how many people I work with personally that literally I'm like, how's it going? There's like, oh man, just a horrible week. And I'm like, you did $14 million in sales. Like most people would be like, hey, here we go, coach. And I want to do better. So on one hand, it's this super ambition, right? And then I think the dissatisfaction, I forget who said it first.
But do you have to be dissatisfied to be successful? Is that just you got to be unhappy? Like I didn't do enough. I screwed up that appointment. How can I get better? Why am I not achieving my goals? I mean, that mindset, I mean, I get it. I have it, but is that necessary?
Human beings are strange. One of the best books ever written was Only the Paranoid Survive. Right? That's the guy that took over Intel and completely changed the product line and, had the typical J curve and has come out of it, like an absolute rock star. And that's an older book. I want to say it was maybe released in like the early 2000s. But I think there's just something to the person that walks out of a listing appointment and was just like, I got the listing, but I didn't get it at the price I want. I didn't get it the fee that I want. I felt like they were a better negotiator than me, and they beat themselves up as a strategy for improvement.
Right.
I'm going to train harder. I was just with Tim Grover.
Get up earlier, stay up later. I mean, it's like we all doing this.
Yes. So I would say that, and then I would say, from there, it's interesting. I mean, again, if I was without saying
Be politically
names.
incorrect. Just go for it, man. Because you know what?
Yeah.
This is the core truth, and we have to start telling the truth, or we're just going to create a bunch of losers, right?
Okay, so you ready?
Yeah.
The next thing is it's something in their background. Something happened to them
Their
between
story.
7, 8, 9 that
Yeah.
shifted who they are. It's their identity, Peter,
Yeah.
right? Like that, and maybe that's where you can kind of mix the three together. It's this like sort of crazy ambition that they can do $1 billion in sales, right? Or I could do 100 transactions, or I could control my geographic farm, or whatever it may be, or I can sell a ton of real estate and be at every kid's soccer game and be totally taking off like Friday afternoon and Saturday. You with me? Like that's also ambitious. Then the dissatisfaction side is just they just know that they're leaving it on the field way too often.
Field, if you want to be honest.
Yeah, right.
Right.
And then something clearly happened to them. It's interesting. I can look back. I have a lot of friends that are more behavioral psychologists, and so we have these conversations, and I'm always fascinated by it. But chatting with a friend of mine, he's like, "Well, what happened to you that made you who you are?" And I was like, "Well, my parents got divorced when I was 6. My older brother cried, and I turned to my mom and I said, 'How can I help?' And that was 39 years ago, or 49 years ago. 49 years ago. And Peter, me, right? Like my sort of go-to is, how can I help?
Yeah.
Right. So what it is they take whatever that thing is and they harness it. It's like the story, you've heard this, variations of this, the woman that was raised by alcoholic parents, right? Her and her sister both went through the same exact experience. When you ask the sister and you're like, "Well, why do you drink so much?" She said, "Well, my parents were alcoholics." Right. And then you say to the other one, "Well, why do you not drink?" She's like, "I don't drink because my parents were alcoholics."
Right.
Something happens to every one of us that shifts part of our identity. And then if you look at like what Tony Robbins talks about, and he's done a wonderful job really unpacking this, is that, if your identity is, let's just call it your belief, what you believe about yourself, other people, your worldview, some people would call that your attitude, that shifts the kind of behaviors that you take or you don't take. And those behaviors produce results that you want or don't want. And that just becomes a very vicious cycle. And the truth is you can adjust your identity.
Yeah. What do you think most agents are getting wrong in 2025?
They're not marketing enough. They're not marketing enough. They're not following up enough. When the interest rates went to 8, right? We watched even with the bottom of the funnel opportunities, referrals from a friend, Zillow Flex. You with me? The bottom of the funnel, the greatest, the Glengarry leads went from, okay, we're going to be under contract in 30 to 45 days to now 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, 9 months. And in the high end, it's the same thing. So with longer sales cycles, the great mistake, and you've seen like where I document like, hey, only 8% of the online leads close in the first 30 days, another like 23% close in months, basically like 2 to 4. And the reality is most people don't have a discipline to follow up, right? They and worse, hey, Peter, I'm just checking in. Just want to see how you're doing. Like, are you looking at the market? Versus, hey, Peter, just wanted to check in, see how you guys are doing. And noticed on Facebook, you've been, training really hard. Like, how's that going? Like actually building a relationship versus only following up and saying, are you ready to transact?
Right.
Because, just again, cost of money. The other side is I am blown away. I'm blown away by people that have the audacity to complain that it's a slower market or less transactions being done in the marketplace that they're in. And then I say, well, so how many emails do you send out per week? And they're like, per week? If I'm lucky, I send out 1. I'm like, okay, how many text messages do you send to your database? Because you and I both know if you have 843 people in your database, 5% of those people are going to transact. And as I know, in a 4 million transaction annual environment, the only people that are moving are the D's: death, divorce, job transfer. It's not the fun move right now. It is the have to move right now. So if you're not marketing enough, at least your own database, and then every time you get a listing, how do you have that listing create some babies, right? And get you more listings. If you're not very intentional about it in an environment like this, you're in trouble.
Yeah. Do you think that the old idea that to be an agent, you could sell a house to your brother, your mother, your best friend, whatever. And how that has shifted to now we're CEOs of businesses within the brokerages. And that, as entrepreneurs, not only do we need to act like entrepreneurs, but we need to have the financial wherewithal to act like we have to have the work ethic. We have to have all of these elements to succeed right now. Can you talk about that for just a second? Because I don't think people are. I've said it a million times. I don't think people get it. I don't know how to get people to move from this transaction mindset to a pipeline mindset, to get people to think about their businesses like businesses, not just I need a sale to pay the rent. And my other question within that is, when people aren't doing this stuff and they're flailing and going hand to mouth and really living kind of mediocre, poor lives, why do they keep going if they're not going to change?
I
guess that's a pretty dark question, but
no,
but that's what I'm battling, because I want to help people too, Tom.
I know. And Peter, and you are a blessing to so many people. So, don't ever, like we can't fret over it. Right. Like, like my dad, when he was talking to Earl Nightingale, God, he was probably 22 years old when he was a salesperson for Nightingale.
Give him a shout out for this weekend too, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I'm actually in Vegas right now. Yesterday, Peter, for the first time in 23 years, my dad, myself, and my older brother, Matthew, were all on stage together. And it was just kind of a, warm, fun way for him to open up his conference. And, but it was great. But back to the question. If you look right now in the US, there's about 34 million businesses. So LLCs, LLPs, C Corps, publicly traded, Fortune 5,000, Fortune 100, right? So there's 34 million businesses. Well, guess what? Only 4% do more than $1 million a year in revenue. Only 4% do more than $1 million in revenue. So if only 4% do $1 million in revenue, this isn't a real estate not running it like a business problem. This is just called a small business problem, right? Small businesses in general do not have systems, and systems is the answer. Systems is the answer. If someone says to me, I want to have a consistent business, I don't need to sell a bazillion houses, but I want to have a great lifestyle. I want to raise my kids. I want to be with my spouse all the time. I'm like, the answer is systems. And then if they say to me, I want to scale, I want to grow like crazy, I'm like, the answer is systems. They're like, oh my God, I'm so busy and I never have any time. The answer is systems. Like, that's it. The answer is systems. What was the great, post-World War II, we decimate this beautiful country of Japan. And then we send them the greatest gift. We send them Dr. Edward Deming Jr. Dr. Edward Deming Jr., who famously said, a system will produce what a system will produce. Nothing more, nothing less. A system will produce what a system will produce. Nothing more, nothing less. And I find myself, and maybe, Peter, because I'm 3.5 decades in, trying to keep it simple for people. Like, do you have a system for your time? Yes or no? Right? And everybody says, some say yes, some say no. And I say, all of you that said no, you have a system. It's called whatever happens, you react. That's your system. I'm like, do you understand? Like, when I say to people, if every escrow you open is a new exciting adventure, you don't have a system. If you don't get more listings from the listing that you launch, it's a systems problem. And what I'm trying to tell people is, stop beating yourself up. Let's just add another system. Let's add another checklist. Now, the problem is, and you and I both know this, is when they say, but I'm not into systems. I'm not into checklists. I'm a little more free flowing and free spirited. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Like, if not you, then get an assistant, get a virtual assistant, grab your 18-year-old son or daughter who doesn't want to go to college and they're a little more organized because their room looks nice, and have them do it. But someone has to do it. Otherwise, you're the person that has a little sandwich shop, right? That it's not really a business. It's a lifestyle. Mm-hmm. That person probably doesn't have a system for their money. They probably don't have a system for profitability. They don't have a system for what they do with their money. They just show up and they make sandwiches and they have fun. And that's how I see. And I'm not knocking them, because there's a lot of ways to do this. That is 1 million of the 1.5 million real estate agents. And Peter, it's the same. It's not the same in Germany, right? It's not the same in Switzerland. It's very similar in Italy. It's very similar in Spain. It's very similar in Portugal. It is not the same in Australia. It is not the same in New Zealand. So every country I go to,
It's cultural.
it's 100%. I mean, look at, you live in Southern California.
Yeah.
Right? The average sales price is bananas, and the commission splits for
And the
agents.
summers are long. We go surfing all summer.
The summers are long. It starts in March. Except for that June gloom that sometimes goes May, June, and July, right? But by 1:30, it's burned off and we're all good. So I don't know. That's a long answer. I think it just comes down to, hey, you know what? We need darkness to appreciate the light.
All right. So let me ask you this. So like this, let's look at let's group agents into 3 tiers.
Sure.
And let's take the 0 to whatever 3. I mean, $1 million is the old 200, right? If you're not making $1 million a year, it's like you weren't making 240 years ago, right? I mean, it's like that's the new number, right? I mean, if you're not at that, you're really like, I don't think there. And that's another thing where we're probably gonna get a little controversy on, and people are going to go,
yes. Okay. So
you know
now
what I mean?
You're also looking through the lens, right? So there's 26,000 zip codes in the United States that have a decent enough sales price, right? But only 4,800 have a sales price. Only 4,800 zip codes in the entire U.S. There's 45,000 zip codes, but a bunch are like P.O. boxes.
Yeah, but Tom, where I would argue with you on that is, and this was when I sat in a seminar with your dad like 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And he was talking about somebody, I can't remember this woman's name, and you were there actually.
I know.
She was doing 400 sales a year. It didn't matter.
I know.
She had systems.
Well, okay, but so that they're not the outlier. They're just the true professional. My point is, there's only 4,800 zip codes in the U.S. that have an average sales price higher than 500,000. But when you live along the coast and you spend time in New York City and Connecticut and Miami, your worldview changes. Yeah. Right. I deal with people that are selling 250. I was in Normal, Illinois, where the average sales price is like $14. And the good news is the people that are there, Peter, sell a lot of real estate. Now, with all that said, man, I would love to have more agents make $1 million a year, but not for us, for them.
For them. All right. So in the 3 categories, let's say new to medium tier agents, and then upper end agents, looking at each of those categories, what does each category, in your opinion, need to focus on? I mean, I know it's a very individual thing, but just in general, how would you view it?
New people need to study the market every single day. And now today with like Grok, I can just grab my phone and literally say, give me a 100-year analysis of the zip code or 92625 in Corona Del Mar. I want to know, when was it developed? Who were the first developers? When did the flower streets exist? When did Newport Coast get generated? Like, and you could learn, if you can read, if you can ask Grok or ChatGPT, you can get a ton. But like you and I both know, market knowledge. You have to understand the market, right? And then I would say for the new agent, they have to start expressing that knowledge online in the form of video, in the form of blogging. They've got to put their brand and their knowledge on steroids to at least be recognizable in the marketplace, right? Mm-hmm. And to get over the fear potentially of their own friends to say, Pete, we'd love to work with you, but God, I've known, Kathy Belmonte, she's been farming my area forever and she sells all the houses here. They've got to do something to separate themselves. And then I would say the third thing is for somebody that's new is they have to recognize that this is a sales and marketing business. And that if you're not willing to prospect, do open houses, knock on doors, whatever the thing is, because there's a lot of things, but you have to have things that you can analyze and say, every time I do this, I get Y, or 32 of these gets me X. So it can't be, it can't be like, well, one time I went to a social network and somebody said they wanted to buy a house and I got them. Mm-hmm. You with me? And I'm not saying social networking doesn't work, but we need things that are very predictable. Right? That's what the new person needs. I think the mid is in trouble right now. They're in trouble. Yeah. So to me, like, okay, if all business is sales and marketing, and you're a whatever mid-level producer means, whatever that is, what I know to be true is they work their database, but they work it half-ass, right? Their messages, they're marketing to their past clients in Sphere instead of educating their past clients in Sphere, right? Like you sell somebody a house and they close the escrow And now all of a sudden I'm getting your just listed cards once a month.
Mhm.
Like, I don't care about that. You with me? So, we have to change the message. That's one. And then the second thing is I've got to add new lead pillars. And this
Yeah.
is, I mean, this is when I look back to like when I left my pops, I had 16 of the top 100 agents on the original Wall Street Journal top 100 list, right? The original list before it became the 1,000, before it became America's Best. The first year it came out, 16 of them were my clients. And
Mhm.
when I looked across and I analyzed those 16, and I knew just about everybody else on the list because it's a small world, what I discovered was every one of them had like 5 to 7 ways that they attracted clients. 5 to 7 ways. And it wasn't like a set in stone, this is how they do it. Everybody had 5 to 7 ways. And that's when I wrote down there's no wrong way to generate a client. There's no wrong way, but the insight is, but you got to have multiple ways. So that mid-level person, I'm going to say to you, hey, first and foremost, you better tool up how you're communicating to your own clients, right? You've got to tool up your messaging. Stop treating them like past clients. Think of it more like homes under management. I have 49 past clients with an average sales price of $1 million each, right? And you know what? I have $49 million in properties under management. I'm now like a financial planner, right? I'm going to take that approach with them. So I'm going to educate them once a quarter on what's going inside the marketplace. I'm going to be more social and interact with them. They're going to send me referrals, but it's a very different strategy than just, I'm just going to, treat you like you were a prospect and just send you stuff.
Right.
The second thing is they've got to add 1 or 2 new lead pillars that can bring them some predictable, reliable business. And now all of a sudden that sales and marketing flywheel starts to kick in. So
Yeah.
that's that group in my mind. The third group, it's only leverage and systems. Leverage and systems. The more leverage they get. See, I have like probably 5 challenges going right now. One of these gals that I'm working with, perfect example. Okay, you moved from San Diego to Boise, Idaho. Congratulations, right? Job transfer for the husband. Now you're there. You're kind of working 2 markets. This is a seasoned agent. She's a good agent. So she's like, I just don't know what to do. I don't know what to focus on because I'm here and I'm there. Well, first thing is get a good story. Be able to explain why you're doing this. Explain why to your friends in San Diego that you can continue to work with them and like help them do what they want to do. And you're now building your new reputation in Boise. I'm like, here's the only thing I need you to do between now and the end of the year. Go on 100 listing appointments. And she was like, 100? I'm like, you got 2 markets. I said, and in Boise right now, right, the market's still pretty good, but I look at the stats. They're 17% up on expired listings. She's like, I don't like expired listings. I'm like, you act like anyone cares. I don't care. They listed with somebody else. They got the wrong experience. You're not going to show up and be the perfect agent. I'm like, I don't care where you get them, but you have to go on 100 appointments. And what I'm challenging all my besties to focus on is like, what's one thing you can do between now and the end of the year that if you do that, everything gets better. And in almost every case, it is just simply go on more listing appointments. And I'm challenging Peter to set a really aggressive, crazy number that they almost never hit. And then they look back and realize, oh, you know what? I was wasting a lot of time. And I wasn't as focused. I was distracted by escrows. I was, distracted by my assistant. And all of a sudden, they get laser focused. Everything changes. And that's, again, the more successful you are, the more things you have going on, the more, like I tell them all the time, you don't have a time management. You have a prioritization issue.
Yeah.
You're not prioritizing the things that actually make the business work. And last time I checked, it's listing appointments.
Yeah. So, okay. So I don't want to take too much of your time. I know you got to get back to your dad, but here's my question for you. A lot of people at the top of their game, they're experiencing a couple of things. They may be I'm hearing this a lot of top agents. They're getting dissatisfied with what they do. There's a little bit of burnout going on because they've been pushing themselves so hard. They want to know what the next chapter is in their life. I know you're dealing with that, Tom.
100%.
I think even us are probably thinking about these different things, right?
Sure.
100%, right? So what is your advice around keeping it fresh, keeping yourself energized, thinking about health and wellness and longevity and all of these things? Because this is the component that I think is the elixir and the magic within everything so that you don't burn out. And like I used to always say, Tom, you're going to laugh at this. I never want to be that old guy in a brown suit wandering around in the back of one of your seminars looking lost. And you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean.
And I don't want to be that person.
Yeah. I mean, look, you and I are, you will appreciate this more than most. It's like, get your blood work done, run it into ChatGPT and say, act like a functional medicine doctor and tell me all the things I have to do to create more health and vitality. You know, between, you know, my wife who's standing over there, like our nutritionist, Pam, all of a sudden now I'm on BPC 157. You and I have been doing NAD for a decade, right? Like, so one thing is get healthier, like make you better, right? Less drinking, more meditation, more outside, more walking. I ran into Gino Lafari this morning and he's, oh, you got to read this new book. You know, you got to walk 20,000 steps a day. It's better for your heart than running. Like people like us are trying to figure out the life hack.
Gino.
Yeah. I love Gino, right? So, I mean, he's like you, man. He's going to live forever. He looks amazing. Yeah. So one thing is, yes. I mean, if you pour yourself into that, that's great. But the second thing is, I find that people like you and I, we will do so much more for others than we will for ourselves. And this is what I'm telling people, like, if you're bored in your business, don't have your business go sideways. Because if you want problems, try no money. Like that would be bad, right? So keep the business going, right? And like, why don't you go find a charity that you're interested in? Why don't you find a new community that you can get excited about? Is there something, a passion project you've always wanted to do before you like try and switch careers, which I've literally had. I had a person say to me the other day, I can't say her name. She is so successful, sells like 400 homes a year. I mean, just money is just flowing. Like she's killing it. You know, she says to me, maybe I should start my own company, become a broker. I just about punched her in the face. Like we're on Zoom. I love her. I'm like, like, are you insane? Yeah. You want to go from cash flow to a thin margin business? Like you're nuts, right?
Yeah, right.
So find a passion project, right? Find someone to help. Like I think that, and then the third one is, God, there's just so much to learn right now. Like, you know, I'm doing a podcast. Curiosity and Grok, right? The X.AI, you know, today it's the leader, you know, next week it'll be OpenAI, and then next week will be Gemini. But like the fact that I can now on my phone literally say, talk to me like you're the greatest therapist on the planet. I'm just a little bored in my business. What do you recommend? Right. Yeah. And have that conversation. But the flip side is, and I'll leave you with this. Every agent today, if you're not paying attention, if you don't change your bio to match the GEO algorithm, not the SEO algorithm, but the GEO, the generative engine optimization for AI search with now over 9 billion monthly active searches. It's nowhere near the 414 billion that Google gets, but it is surging. You know where it's surging the most, Peter? In the high end. In the high end. In the high end. And every time I do a seminar now, I'm like, how many of you got a client now that they literally found you on like ChatGPT, et cetera? And hands are going up left and right, especially in the higher end markets. So that's one side of it, right? The other side of it is blogging is back and it's working. And the difference now is we're going to answerthepublic.com, typing in sell home, hitting enter, getting, 90 questions, and boom, I start writing blogs and I'm back in the game. So Peter, I'm literally getting from my wife. You got it. I love you, man. I'll talk to you over the weekend, and I hope I brought some value to everybody today.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for being on The Core Truth. This is Tom Ferry, the greatest coach on the planet. Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, buddy. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.